This video will demonstrate the different features that are found in the Designer add-on that you will obtain when you pick new features. That's demonstrated in the tracking video. For the Designer, you can see that the choices are Treadle as drawn in, turn draft, add tabby, color and weave, fine floats. So I will demonstrate each of these choices. We'll start with Treadle as drawn in. But before I do that, I want you to notice my draft. It has many colors in it, and I'm weaving the weft with just plain black. So let's look at the threading, and it shows the color palette. And you'll notice that the color palette shows all of these colors. This is how I make a color palette. I will create a draft that has all the threads I want in it, and then when I load that draft, it will have a color palette. Then when I pick, say, go to pick new, create a document, and then I start it, I still have all of those colors. So that's how I create a color palette that I want to use, and then I just open that draft before I'm ready to use the color palette. Now let's go back to our demo and pick our colorful threading. Again, zoom in a little so you can see it. Now I will demo the Treadle as drawn in. Treadle as drawn in is also called Trompe as grit, and what it does is it takes the threading and it puts it on the treadling. The tie-up remains the same. The reason that you would use that, or the places that you would use that, is that more than probably half your patterns are symmetrical, and they use the same treadling as they do the threading. So we can go over to Designer, pick Treadle as drawn in, and we'll zoom in, and now you can see that the treadling is the same as the threading. It's very colorful too. You can go in and you can take here, if you select in the selection mode, pick select all. It has selected all those colors, and you can change it to your color of choice. Let's say we want to weave that in black. And now we have that same design, but in black, and you can see that that's a very quick way to get your pattern symmetrical and to create beautiful patterns. The next thing to demonstrate is turning a draft. And we're going to use a draft that we previously used in our last demo on warp face, and we're going to use it to turn it to weft face. If I tap on the threading, you see all the previous picks, that 1 to 5 for each column that is in the warp face weaving. To demonstrate the turn draft, I'm going to turn it to balanced weaving. Now you see all the various picks as a balanced weave, and you also see the weft. When you turn a draft, you're going to rotate it around counterclockwise, and this will become the threading, and this will become the treadling, and the tie-up gets inverted. So I go to my Designer and I pick Turn Draft, and you'll now see that the draft has been turned. The treadling is now on the threading. The treadling is now what used to be the threading, and it has all the design in it. And the tie-up is now inverted, so you're lifting more shafts for each treadle. Let's go back and turn that back into weft-faced. And now you see the same design, but woven as a weft-face weave. Now that's a pretty useful thing to be able to do, because sometimes you see a pattern that's done in warp and you want to do it in weft, and likewise you might see a weft-face pattern that is something more that you wanted to do in a warp face. It's also useful for any type of pattern that you want to do. You can use it for overshot that normally requires 2 shuttles and throws 2 shuttles. But if you turn it and you put the multiple colors in the warp instead of in the weft, then you can do 1 shuttle weaving, which is much faster than trying to do 2 shuttles. I have this nice twill pattern to demonstrate color and weave. Notice that the tie-up is mostly plain weave with this 1 band of twill in it, and that's what gives you the diamonds that you see in the draft. To do color and weave, I pick the designer and I pick the color and weave pop-up, and I have several choices. I can do a sequence of A and B. That means to alternate the A and B colors that I choose down here. I could also sequence A, B, C, or I can create my own sequence. So down here I pick the colors that I want to use. I think I will use this brown and maybe this blue for the second color. So I'm going to alternate colors A and B. I can choose to do the warp or the weft or both. In this case, let's just use both and create a color sequence. You can see that what it did was it just changed the colors. The threading, the treadling, and the tie-up are all the same. Since it's mostly plain weave in the tie-up, your pattern is mostly plain weave. Interestingly, let's look at the tie-up. If I pick the third icon over, that inverts the tie-up. And notice I get an entirely different looking pattern, which I might like better or I might not. But I can choose. It didn't change the threading or the treadling. So I could weave one pillow in one color and do the second one using that. I can try another thing with the tie-up. Let's see if flipping it makes a difference. Didn't make it. How about wrapping it? Wrapping it does make a difference. That's an entirely different design. So wrapping it more than once just kind of alternated between those two. So that's your color and weave effect. You can use it for color and weave patterns, but you can also use it when you I want to create a new draft. So I pick Create Document. We'll leave it at 8 shafts, and I just put in, using one color, I put in the threading, the treadling. Let's put in a tie-up. I've used the third one. Oops, that's the wrong one. I wanted that one to generate a twill from the first column. Now I am going to use Treadle is drawn in, and you'll notice that it created a drawn-in treadling, but it's the same color. So let's go change that color, and we'll use our color and weave to do that. So I will just be changing the weft, so I'll turn off the warp, and we'll try a sequence. Okay, so we're going to try A, B, B, C. So when you create a sequence, it has to use the first three, that one down. The sequence uses the first three colors here, and you can say, well, what color do I want that one? I'll make it red. I'll make this one second B color blue, and the C color we'll make gold. Notice that the stars here are indicate the color that's being used in the draft. These colors here are not used in the draft yet, and so they aren't starred. So now I'm going to create a custom sequence. It's going to use the red, the blue, and the gold, and I'm only going to do it in the weft, and we'll pick it there. And let's zoom in a little so you can see what we got. So because I did A, B, B, C, I only got one gold C, but I got two A's and two colored B's. And that's how you can color your draft after you create your sequence. So that demonstrates color and weave and how you can use it on the designer add-on.